everybody. Another Cute for Teams, champions using Teams effectively. Stacy won't be joining today. So you got me, Ricardo Wilkins, here to chat about Teams, take your questions, ask us anything. I'll do my best to help. And of course, I always got stuff I can talk about as well. Yeah, feel free to come off mute or use the chat to put your questions or comments, because it's certainly an interactive conversation. That being said, I see a question in the chat already about, can conversation history be downloaded? I'm assuming, so Teams meeting conversation history. And so if I'm understanding your question in general, so for instance, this meeting here, there is conversation, there's chat in the meeting. This particular chat in general, it's not a download button for that. However, if I turned on transcription, then that would have a file-based record of the chat. So if that's your goal, then transcription is probably the key. In fact, I don't think I do transcription on this. Actually, just transcription is on this particular meeting. For those on the video, you can't see it, but Carmen, if you, for instance, go in your Teams meeting, I think in the three dots, there is a show transcript, even for the meeting that we happen to be in. So that is available after the fact, and that's based on turning the recording on. But if I'm understanding the general answer of so you're saying meeting, general, post, and even channel, yeah. I know a lot of customers who would love for the answer to be yes. There's a way to kind of export channel, chat in general. I'm not aware of an easy button for that. I have had many ask that question. So yeah, short answer, no. But from a meeting perspective, transcription could be a way to get that particular chat. So hope that helps. Yep, and as it's been pointed out in the chat, many people do screenshots, send messages to Outlook. Yep, I've had people archive chat in their OneNotes and their Word docs, and you know, that's best you've got right now. I will say, you know, when you do that, at least, because if you're popping that text into OneNote, any Word file, right, and storing it in SharePoint, at least that chat is searchable because of being in SharePoint and whatnot. A lot of times people are trying to grab chat maybe because of a retention policy that's going to delete it later. So that could be, you know, one way to overcome that. But yeah, everything you're saying there, screenshots and whatnot, that's how I've had other customers kind of grab things from the chat. So good question. So also looking at the chat here, SharePoint or sharing PowerPoint lives and updated so we can use basic presenter mode functionality. A feature you'd really like to see, though, is the ability to share computer sound, so I can play music while displaying the welcome slide while people are joining events. Any ETA on the share computer sound feature working with PowerPoint Live? Well, the first things coming to mind is I think I usually see people embed the mute, if it's about music, embedding that into the PowerPoint. I believe I've seen that work. Anybody online can confirm that for me. So PowerPoint Live, you've got the PowerPoint there, and if you push play on a audio file on that PowerPoint slide, I believe that, you know, the people can hear that. So you're right, that's different than clicking the Teams button for, you know, add computer sound. But hopefully it gets you the same thing, same effect.
I'm the one who asked the question. This is Karen. I
Yeah.
usually just share my screen instead of sharing PowerPoint Live, and I share computer sound that way.
Yeah.
So just wondered, a lot of other presenters only use PowerPoint Live.
Mhm.
So I can use the embed feature after I test it, make sure it works. I can use that, share that with them as a workaround. But
Yeah.
just wondered if Microsoft is working on that feature so that we could start using it soon.
Mhm. So we're working on based on more sound integration to the PowerPoint Live, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you share your window or your screen, you can include computer sound and it works great.
Right.
But if you're using PowerPoint Live, and a lot of people don't know, PowerPoint Live is an exception, and you can include computer sound with all these other screen shares, but not PowerPoint Live. So they're trying to use it and it's not working and it's messing up their big meeting. And so I just wondered if that was a feature that Microsoft is working to implement.
Right. Yeah, I think I've mainly seen people do that embed sound. My other thought, so in the case of background sound, I think that's what you described while you're waiting for people to join. I have also seen people just, use their mic and the sound in in their room, for which then you want to make sure there is settings in Teams, like its default is to kind of try to do noise cancellation. But there's a setting about taking away noise cancellation, which would make someone's audio speakers sound better. And I think there's even a music related setting. I'm actually trying to look in here now. So I see noise suppression. Oh, actually, let me do it on the screen here. Get a meeting started. And this demo environment doesn't have, it might not, we'll see if it works. And come in here, and I think because my demo environment, we'll see. There we go. Noise suppression goes auto all the way high, low to off. In theory, off for noise suppression would help your mic pick up background music that you're playing from your PC. So that's one option. And then I could have sworn I saw at one point a music related, anybody keep me honest here, a music related setting. But I can't seem to find it now. But that's the other thing I've seen people do is use the music in the background of their, microphone as a way to play music in the beginning of a meeting.
Ricardo, I think when you share, click on the share button. When you share, it gives you the option to do include computer sound.
Right. We're talking about PowerPoint Live, not being a part of that particular.
So what happens if you do PowerPoint Live from there?
Your computer turns it off.
Right.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah. So when I'm sharing that, it's going here, and it's not using that particular toggle. So you're saying that the embed sound hasn't worked for you. Only time people can hear is with the mic, but that can be hard to hear. Yeah. So this particular one here, yeah, I would have thought a audio embedded in this slide. I can't try it on this particular demo environment, but I feel like that's what I've seen work. I have to test that out, I think.
Hey, Ricardo, it's been
Yeah.
a while since I've tested it, but we used to get a lot of questions about it in our organization because people were embedding not only music, but like YouTube videos or something that they
Right.
wanted to play during the PowerPoint Live. And they're
Right.
like, people can see the video playing, but they can't hear it because it goes through to their computer sound is how that's coming out. It's not natively playing in Teams. It's playing through the computer. So unless there's been a change since the last time I tested that, which was back in May, I will admit it's been a while. It hasn't worked in the past for me.
And because what I thought I'd seen is, so let's say I did put a YouTube video, and maybe we can try it in this meeting, but in here, each person, so the PowerPoint Live lets them click on interactive elements, and if they hit play, maybe to your point, I thought that was playing for them on their local machine. Now everybody could hit play at a different time, but I thought in that.
Then I misunderstood what you were saying, because yes, that where they can each play on their local machine, but that means that I'm like, have you started it yet? Have you stopped it yet? Excuse me, instructor, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
And so I thought you meant the instructor or the presenter controlling the hit play. So if I hit play on my screen, they're seeing the video play on my screen, but they're not hearing the audio coming from my computer.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, in larger sessions, it can be a little bit overwhelming to try to manage getting everybody playing and hearing the audio at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course, so at this point now we're talking hacks, right? I mean, we all admit there's not a easy button for what we're describing, but of course another hack is just on the fly kind of switching to my sharing my desktop again, and that especially in that scenario of I'm just want background music while we join. Share my desktop with that toggle, play music. When it's time for when everybody's in, it's time for the presentation, then hit PowerPoint Live and kind of go from there. Of course, if there's a lot of that, then that's a lot of toggling. I certainly get that.
But you've just identified one of the problems with the PowerPoint Live. If people could advance their own slides and then you have multiple videos in the PowerPoint presentation, different people on the team playing different videos for themselves, you can see how it gets very complicated for how they would set it up, right?
And if that's the case, yeah, I'd definitely hit the private view or hit this button here to keep them from advancing.
Correct.
Yeah.
But again, just from a back end standpoint, it's a complicated problem for the product group to put together, right?
Right. Yeah.
Would you disable that ability unless you had the ability to advance turned off, right? So you could keep everybody on the same slide.
Yeah. The other thing that complicates this that I've had people ask me about too is that if you're recording, I believe an embedded video in a PowerPoint Live doesn't make it to the recording. So even if somehow you got this all working with PowerPoint Live, your recording wouldn't get the benefit of the video sound. I think the last time I checked. The same for whiteboard sessions. They don't today, right? As of the time of this particular, September 30th, they don't make it to the recording today. So that would be another complication if someone's recording that session as well. So, yeah. Last thing I'll say to that is, I'm thinking about it, right? I'm just thinking to a little more advanced thing, basically like the kind of things I use for streaming, with some additional effort, with some, tools like OBS Studio, that kind of thing. You could probably get it done if it was a big meeting or kind of a big production. Could probably do some things there. That is certainly not an easy button, and you're really kind of now using tools outside of Teams. But again, we're talking hacks here now at this point. That might be another approach. I certainly have a ton of things I can do with my streaming software that go way beyond a typical Teams meeting feature. So it's another option, but not an easy one. So that's good stuff. Yeah, and it's also nice to just hear more people using PowerPoint Live in general. From the feature set perspective, it's great, but it's really for the end user in the meeting. If you're doing a presentation, it's I think it's the best. It's the best look, right, for that presentation. At a minimum, being able to click interactive elements to me is a big deal. I always hate, it seems like 8 out of 10 meetings I'm in, when the PowerPoint is good, somewhere in the chat real soon, someone says, can I get access to this PowerPoint? And a lot of times it's because there's some, big slide on the deck that has a bunch of links in it that they want access to. And so being able to click through right during the meeting is cool. Being able to go to different slides is also good for the end user. I actually did that in another meeting where I could tell they were leading up to something. I needed to get to the end result and get to the link that they were going to share with me. And so I kind of just, went about 5 slides ahead, saw where they were kind of ending. And it allowed me to kind of ask a question a little earlier and that kind of thing. So, again, it really empowers the end user. Gives a great presentation. And then of course we'll see if more people start using some of the other features with the like embedded, like putting your face on top of the presentations. I haven't seen that used as much, but certainly that's there as well. So I'm seeing in the chat, Bert, best workaround, present the PowerPoint. Yeah, PowerPoint, using PowerPoint. Yep. And use that, include computer sound. Yep. Again, definitely a workaround. Be nice if all of that was included with the PowerPoint Live stuff. So awesome. Any other questions there? I like to think that I would like to think that all of you who are attending these regularly, you're out there spreading, evangelizing what good meetings looks like, right? Whether it's the PowerPoints or meeting options. We all need to help the world get to a better meeting experiences. We've been doing this a while now, last 3 years. These meetings where people are kind of fumbling their way through it, and can you please go on mute and all that stuff. I'm really striving to help the world get to a point where the meetings are more elegant. So good stuff. Any other questions out there?
I just wanted to add that I do like PowerPoint Live. It's so nice when people know how to use it. There's no more, next slide, please.
Right.
Because you can seamlessly pass the presentation back and forth between presenters.
And that's still, at least what I've seen. So yes, I'll see people use PowerPoint Live, but then they haven't graduated yet to given control. And these just little quirks of mine, probably quirks of you all as well. I'm just, and I don't want to always come off mic and say, hey, you can, but yes, taking control should be the way it goes, where nobody has to say, please advance the slide. Very easy to give and take control. And then again, that's a more elegant meeting, and it's better for all the people in the meeting, right? They don't have to see that those awkward transitions and waiting for a speaker waiting for their slide to change. So very good stuff. I actually do a lot of presentations that have where my timing of what I'm saying to the slides is kind of key. I like to do good presentations, and so I could not depend on someone else, doing the slides for me and trying to stay on my timing. So definitely like that feature.
Speaking of meetings, Ricardo, we asked a question a few months ago, and you and Stacy were going to look into it. With webinars, the meeting doesn't automatically get added to people's calendars. They can use like the iCal, the ICS download, but in our environment, it's restricted in certain places because it's an unsecured download that we can't verify, right?
Okay.
So we were wondering, we'd asked a couple months ago if there was any way that the product group, would they consider making some sort of pass so that the webinar automatically adds to people's calendars? Because we have a lot of problem when we use webinars where they don't know to save the link. They can't find the link. They try to go into it, and then it says you're not registered, please register again. And I run into this every single week as a person who teaches webinars like you do. So I was wondering if there was any movement on that.
I have to check with Stacy because I suspect she probably took that action item, auto add to calendar. So I'll check with her and see if she's heard anything from that. I can even check with Nash. He might know as well. So
I appreciate it. We use webinars extensively, but there's a lot of, I get every single webinar I present, I get a ton of email going, I can't find the link. I can't, it says I'm not registered. And I'm just trying to alleviate that for my folks.
Right. Absolutely. Yep, I will check on that. Anything else?
Bouncing off of the one about automatically adding webinars to the calendar for attendees, is there a way to get dial-in conference information added to webinars, or is that on the roadmap?
So you're saying your webinar today does that not include, try that here.
So what I can tell you, Ricardo, is it includes it from the instructors and required presenters point of view, but you have to manually, if you want it to currently, if you want it to show up for the attendees, I have to manually add it as part of the view registration form process when I create the registration form. Because it's not automatically adding to their calendar, it's not automatically also pulling in the dial information unless I specifically put a person on the add required presenters line.
Gotcha.
Which of course, and everybody attending, I'm not going back and putting them on that line, right?
Yeah. And as I'm thinking through that, I mean, given the definition of the webinar and where it's likely a large meeting, I'm sort of thinking I can see why it might be designed that way. You might not necessarily want hundreds of folks on that dial in, so they're maybe making a decision for you there. So it does sound like that there's a workaround, but it does explain the I guess the default experience. So yeah, I think it was Karen that asked that. So yeah, manually putting that audio or dial in bridge link sounds like the way to go. Does that make sense?
When you say manually adding the dial-in, do you mean sending them a separate meeting invitation with the dial-in?
No, ma'am. What I mean is when I create the meeting for myself and for my co-presenters, it adds to our view of it. Then I copy and paste that into the registration form if it's necessary for a specific webinar. I don't do it every single time, but when I feel it's necessary, I do. So on Ricardo's screen where it says view registration form, if you click on that, that's customizable, and then there's that detail section. I just copy and paste it into the description. Yeah, the description box.
Okay, thank you so much. I will pass that on in our user guidance so that our people can take advantage of that.
Hey, Karen, I just joined and we tried to do that the other day, but the problem is that once you register, you may not see this again. You know, if you're registering 3 months in advance, you may all you have is that ICS file on your calendar, so it may disappear. So we do see that as a gap.
Which cycles back to my original question. Yes, absolutely.
In terms of the auto adding it to the calendar, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So people have to know to go there and look. But I also sent the other workaround, Karen, that I use is I send a reminder email for every single webinar because mine are training events. And I say, just a reminder, you've signed up for blah, blah, blah. And I send them all of the information with that reminder email because I'm just trying to make it as easy as possible for people to get their training in.
That's a good idea.
So a little care and feeding needed for the registration-based webinars here. We got some features in here that are taking care of some of the things we used to have to do manually, but it sounds like there's still some manual steps in some cases.
These manual steps are easier than the old manual steps, though. So even though it's a little bit frustrating at times, I still feel it's less frustrating than all of the manual stuff I used to do. So I'm very happy for webinars. Don't get me wrong. It's just
progress.
There's room for improvement if you are willing to take the feedback.
Right. Well, I do know, I mean, I know a lot of attention is given to, let's call it just large meetings in teams. So I'm sure more innovation is coming there. I don't, those specific, asks, I don't know, what the plan is there, but I know a lot of innovation is being put into that. So yeah, we'll likely see more coming in that area. But you're right, it's always good to be able to say it's better than it used to be. Yeah. I did have some tips and tricks. I actually did 2 coffee with the cowbell sessions this week. So if you're ever looking for tips and tricks, there's 2 out there today, and that's aka.ms/coffee for teams. So as opposed to me repeating them here, you can go out and check them out there. The only other thing I was going to mention today isn't necessarily a new Teams feature per se, but Windows 11's new update. If you guys are running Windows 11, the new updates are rolling out. One of which includes folders on the Start menu. And in this particular demo environment, for whatever reason, hasn't gotten it yet. But when it would show, it would be about dragging an icon over onto another, and it would make a folder that you can name and so forth. Reason I'm mentioning that is because it made me think about does that have any use for Teams? And I started thinking about, well, if I go to my documents here, for those that are using syncing for, if this being a folder for one of the teams, so hopefully you can access the files of Teams and SharePoint through your Windows Explorer. They're still cloud-based. You get all of that. And then, of course, these folders can be pinned to Start, right? So I've just pinned that to Start, which means now it shows up there. So with the Start menu, I can go right to the files of that particular team, take that a step further. Now that I've got folders, start grouping a bunch of my Teams-related folders Teams-related folders into a Start menu folder. And now I've got this one-click ability to go get those. Not also mentioning that once they're in there, they are searchable, so I don't have to go necessarily navigate to them. As you can see, I started typing it, and it knows where to find it. So in a perfect world, if I'm always accessing the District 9 stuff, I'm just going to hit Start, probably just type the first few letters. Where'd my Start menu go? BIS, and it's going to come up. I hit enter, and then I'm right there to those files. So not a Teams feature per se, but an integration of Teams and Windows and search as a way of helping us get to our Teams files quicker. So just a little tip there. Again, if you got the latest rolled out, you can start playing with the folders. But even without folders, as you can see, you can still get some of the power of that by just pinning your folders into the Start menu, or pinning your Teams folders into the Start menu. So, little tip there. Good stuff. All right, everybody, in the last 60 seconds here, any other thoughts, comments, word of the day? Something going on in the chat there. Okay. Yep. Just some thanks and some kind words. So cool. Awesome. Well, we'll do it again next week. So yeah, Fridays 11 a.m. And if you want to hear me rant on even more, Thursdays 9 p.m. Eastern, Tuesdays 8 a.m. Eastern. I'm also on the coffee stuff, and go from there. So good to see you. See you next week. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the blog for more content.